It looks like 2026 will be the craziest year ever. Yes, and we haven't seen anything. Guys, I really want to see something like 2017 happen again in 2026. You would have seen how crazy it got if you were here at the time. Yes? Now, I really believe it's possible because these paths have finally become available after a few years. Just look at what happened yesterday. This is Justin from Watch Your Guru. The Federal Reserve has finally stopped quantitative tightening. That's it, right? Okay, guys, this is QT. Stop taking money out of the markets, all right? The government will add money to the markets by buying stocks and everything else. This will cause prices to skyrocket to impossible levels, okay? The stage is being set. Do not forget that signs do not matter. Money is what counts. The question is whether money is pouring into the asset or running away from it. We're about to get a lot of rain. Don't forget that QE hasn't begun yet, right? QT was just over. Okay, things get crazy when QE starts and the moneymaker goes crazy. Guys from Ted Pillows, let's take a moment to calm down. QT was run for 3 years by the Federal Reserve and is now over. Remember that we are the only ones who can say this. The markets will be stalled and the Bitcoin cycle of every 4 years will no longer matter. Yes, from what I can tell, this run will last until 2026. We might have just heard the news from the Federal Reserve. Okay, that's it. QT is over. The Federal Reserve ran it for more than 3 years. 3 years or more, right? And now we're going to talk about what this really means since QT began in the middle of 2022 and finished not long ago, right? During this whole time, guys, it makes sense for QE to start next. There are a lot of posts like this on X, and they're all true, but most people don't understand this. QE doesn't happen until the economy is in big trouble. We were right when we said that there would be a big crash before QE happened, right? This fits perfectly with the idea that the real bottom will likely be reached in the next few months, for good. After that, they'll make it float to somewhere else. To show this, let's look at this chart. This is Bitcoin over a 2-week period. Okay. It also shows us how the QT and QE guys go through different processes. Okay. People will be fooled because I told you this loop would last until 2026, okay? People are going to be manipulated. QT took place when you were over here, okay? And this was the worst time for Bitcoin, QE. It all began over here. And this is the bull cycle of 2021 when things were going crazy, right? XRP was the only thing that was missing from this cycle. Okay, XRP didn't take part in this. Why? Because if it weren't for the cases and other nonsense that came with XRP, however, XRP did take part in QT over here. Okay. And it blew up, so take a look at this. We did go up with QT, right? I think it's because of the cycles. However, the loops are about to end because QE is coming back soon, okay? This thing will likely just line up straight when it does. I'm not joking either. Which fits with the idea that things are going really well and then everything falls apart, probably in late 2026. Okay? The plan is pretty easy then. Before it all falls apart, we have to make it through this the last step of an explosion. After that, XRP really does rise from the ashes. But this was the only reason QE began in the first place back in 2020, the 2020 C event. Yes, you all saw this crash happen so quickly. The Federal Reserve had to hold some kind of emergency meeting, that's fine, and it was late, right? Even though it seemed to happen out of the blue, we know it was planned. Now the markets can do this. Okay. They lowered rates and did other things, but then they brought back a Kiwi. Started making a lot of money. Why? Because of what's going to happen there in 2020. Okay? They then roared and shot up like never before. Think about what Bitcoin will do during QE if this is what it did during QT. What did Bitcoin go from 16? From QE, it went from about $3,000 to around $60,000. Think about what it will do this time around. It looks like the blow-off top cycle, right? Or a part of it, right? Think about how it goes up like this and in a straight line in the year 2026. But first, we need this crash to happen. By the way, this crash is Satan's last chance to get everyone to sell, okay? Then don't be that person when the time comes. I now want to know when this crash will happen. Let's take a look. That was the end of QT. Here's where QE began. The amount of time it took was about 6 months. In 6 months. That puts us around the middle of 2026, but I think it's more like March, right? It's possible that the past will show us what will happen in the future. This crash might happen in March, right? A Blackstone event that no one saw coming, okay? Before they begin QE. It might only last a short time, like in March 2020, or it might last a long time, like during the 2008 financial crisis. You will have one of the best parades of your life if you make it through that crash. Don't expect a new bull run to start next week or month. First, there will be pain, then a rally that changes your life, money, and everything else. Yes? During this phase of QE, XRP is likely to go up to $10 or more. So if I could have, wow, Just catching up before that happens will be very gross. Finally, it's going to be 10 degrees. Right? It has never happened before. Has it already started? As if the system were being broken into. Before QE starts, look at the bar line. As news spread, U.S. banks said that the Federal Reserve had just pumped $13.5 billion into the U.S. banking system through overnight repos. There has been more money put into the economy than at any other time since 2020, even during the height of the dot-com bubble. It should be fine now. Go ahead. That is a problem. So there's something going behind the hood, right? Oh, with the banks. Guys, there may be a banking crisis, but this is all nonsense, right? It looks like this is all a show. Just as everything starts to fall, they are going to bring up QE again, which is where this happened right here. By the way, take a look at this overnight. Reaper repurchase deals, okay? This is overnight repurchase deals, okay, the repo markets. So what happened previously was with this thing starting spiking. As soon as this began to spike all over the place, guys, it became very unstable. It previewed the 2020 event. It just started rising again. So we're going to see it spike a bit maybe, and then come down, spike a little bit, and then the actual event happens, which is going to scare everyone. They're going to bring upon some type of bad story alongside it. Who knows? I don't know, maybe a disease or something new. I don't know what kind of cyber attacks might happen. Then QE starts, okay, in the coming months. Okay, so simple as 1, 2, 3, we already know the code. So seems like it's not fine behind the hood, but that's what they wanted, right? That's what they want here. But we were the only ones who said this would last until 2026. Now that CoinBrew has joined us, Bitcoin should reach its highest point in Q2 2026. I think it might be Q4. I'm not sure of the exact time. It doesn't matter. The important thing is whether the market will pump in a year or not. Because of QE, we know it will. So macro investor Ralph Howell says the 4-year cycle is over and the 5-year cycle is in. This is because your peak is likely to be in the second quarter of 2026. Let's see this. What's the deal with Bitcoin not really taking off yet? This chart is it. Bitcoin is simply the ISM, which is the business cycle. This is a Bitcoin that has lost its trend. Don't forget that we've always said it's all about the business cycle. It's always the business cycle that makes sense. Some people say it's the 4-year cycle based on this or that, but they don't understand what the business cycle is really about. For me, it's all about having cash on hand. I think the business cycle is about money coming in and going out. I'm not quite sure myself, but the markets only rely on one thing, guys. It's liquidity. It depends, since the elites could keep the market down either way. It's been a few years since QT, but Bitcoin has been going up because the elites let it. They want to be ready for the big crash in 2026. Therefore, this money will be poured in like a rocket, and you and I will both become very wealthy. Why there's a 4-year cycle in everything, and we've explained it. We'll talk about it in more depth tomorrow in our show on Everything Code, but in a nutshell, it stays true to the ISM. Rates have been going in the same direction. You see, rates should have come lower. We need to roll over the debt, so they need to go down. We've talked about this. That's part of the Everything Code, fundamental part. And ISM, because rates are so high, has meant the Main Street has been screwed while Wall Street's made money from debasement. Okay, so now let's talk about the rate cuts that's coming in soon from President Trump. He calls for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates next week. Even Diamond said Powell should cut rates. He mentioned, okay, they will 100% cut rates. Rates are going to go down now, right? They can borrow cheap money. Plus, we got QE. This is truly the perfect formula, is it not? Guys, if we don't make money, we'll be broke in 2026, even if we messed up the cycle, right? If you have somehow, which I have, but there's still a chance to come back from all of it. It's kind of like rising from the ashes of the damage you've caused, and it's all through this. Federal Reserves to cut rates in December, followed by a few more rate cuts in 2026, putting rates at just above 3%. Trump essentially announces that Kevin Hassan will be the next Fed chair. The year 2026 is going to be crazy. That's it, right? He's putting his own puppets to work. He doesn't want to see John Powell anymore. I think that the crash will happen while he is president and when his team is in charge. First, though, learn what's going to happen. All of you balloons soar, earnings versus things that are hard to get. These are the problems they need to fix, and rates need to go down. Rates go down for them. Why? Why does the business cycle seem to be going on for so long and not like it does at any other time? Why? I only found out this while restarting work on the whole code set not long ago. Is that actually made the bill due date longer from 4 years to 5 years in 2021-22. Putting off the debt's due date by a year has pushed back the business cycle. This time, the cycle is 5 years instead of 4. We won't know what the next one is until we see where they all get refinanced. We still don't know if it will go back to 4 because they might get something in the long run, or if it will be cut short because everything is now.